Hey guys, here with another video on this opening variant that I'm exploring. Last video, we decided that this is the next best move for blue. And then yellow goes here, just a different idea for moving the bishop out here. So a couple of ideas suggested by Mr. Tom Merrill for these two ideas right here. Now let's look at the knight move first. I think you can stay aggressive. As suggested, I think you can put a double checkmate threat on green. Blue takes, double checkmate threat on green. Now, if green decides to move here or there, then red takes next turn, and yellow takes. In either case, it's checkmate. And say it's there. Have to take back. And the king is exposed. So it may be a minor little advantage, but to me it looks like a pretty solid and clear one for yellow and red. So that's one variation we could look at, because the exposed king is very susceptible to all sorts of attacks and tricks at this point. And I think green has to waste a move to go back. So I think it's safe to say that's not a good variation for green and blue. Even though it's a minor advantage, I think it's still a pretty solid one. And the other option is to block. Now, if you block here, then still gonna take, right? And then you still have to take, and then no matter what piece you take with, what you're looking at here is attacking that piece, and then a checkmate threat on green. So you win the piece back. And if you push up with the other pawn, well, it's a very similar story. Go back, check. Let's see, I think that's the better one to take back with. And what you're looking at here is taking advantage of this pin there, along with checkmate threat on green. So no matter what happens, you have to defend that mate. And then looking at this, even if blue wants to come in for a check threat, I'm pretty sure still just do that, because blue cannot. Yeah, I don't see how you can take advantage of a check right now. Piece up, threatening the rook. This looks really strong for red and yellow too, in my opinion. So that's my short analysis on that variation. The next variation to look at is the other one suggested by Mr. Tom Merrill, which is to move the queen over here. Now, I think there's a triple play for red that's super powerful, this move right here. Notice you still have this threat by blue. Green's f7 is exposed, and there's a hole for a checkmate threat. So can you spot that move? Red moves there. Triple play. I think it's very strong, because the idea here is, and I think this is blue's next best move because you can put a check threat on yellow, or at least pin the queen. Move over there, and if the queen goes back on this diagonal, right, then yeah, I guess what you're looking at, I think you'd have to go all the way back because you still have another, like let's say you only go back one. Oh, what am I doing here? So you only go back one. You still have this threat on green's queen. And I think that gives red an extra move to set up. So to me, that doesn't look that strong. Just on face value, that looks kind of weak. The other variation besides that is to move here, then checkmate there. Then you can go here and then checkmate there. And let's say that, well, that doesn't work out obviously because checkmate threat. So yeah, the other thing too is keeping blue's piece here. You do have a checkmate threat on yellow. So I think after you move there, it's blue. I don't know what you would do here. But to me, this also looks, just on face value, very strong for red and yellow. So I don't think that queen out is a good move either. Now this leaves another move suggested by Caius Mersa to go out here. Now this move is strong for a few reasons. Opens up the queen, come in for a check on red, if need be. It prevents this diagonal, checkmate threats on green. I think it's the next best move to go. It also gives a flight square for the king. So from here, play becomes a little more interesting. I think that you still want to keep aggressive, right? You still want to maintain pressure on red, but another idea, key idea in this opening is to keep pressure on blue. So here you have a checkmate threat. I think the best move is to just block off the diagonal, the good diagonal for the queen. And I think yellow's next best move is to go there. I was looking at one variation, which I thought could be really good, but with careful play in this variation, green and blue can maintain an advantage. It's a little too aggressive. So one variation I was looking at was this one. The idea is to go back and forth and go in for this maneuver right here. So after that, the key move to defend against this threat is to move the queen here. You're looking to take advantage of this pin there. So what you do then, in order to maintain the pressure, red's queen has to maintain a checkmate threat. So you move there, and if yellow's knight moves now, it's premature because of that move. Red can still move here, pretty much pinning green's queen because it gives a checkmate threat, and also threatening checkmate on green at the same time. Thing is though, there's a timely knight check right now, and that makes all the difference. In fact, you could even just move over here next is green. Prevent, check. And then, because there's a check at this stage, if, and also because yellow's queen is pinned to his king, to me this looks not good for red and yellow. I think they've lost their momentum and there's some counterplay that's brewing. So I think here the key move is to, because the knight cannot stay super active, not move the knight yet, but maintain the advantage by moving the queen out. And from there, you can try to exploit holes. And this now becomes a little bit more complex, and I don't think I can give a very good analysis at the moment because there's just so many options for what red and yellow can try to exploit in blues and greens relatively solid positions. You still have to take into account that blue's queen wants to get active either here or maybe down here. Of course, you have to be careful for threats. So maybe one idea is to block off this diagonal. Maybe red's queen wants to move here for a checkmate threat, while yellow's queen is still on this diagonal. You have to take into account that there's this pin coming up. I don't know, that might not be a good idea because you have check threats that way. Maybe you want to move the bishop up here, which might leave some susceptibility to counterplay from green. And the two big holes I see, of course the idea was to keep blue occupied with checkmate threats, while yellow, with red's queen, while yellow develops his queen, his or her queen, whoever, male, female, gender, and also just develop threats in general. And then once those threats are established, because blue's queen is still boxed in, taking advantage of the inactive player and red's already active queen and yellow's active queen and perhaps knight or other pieces that develop in the meantime. So of course another hole is here. We can see that this is a threat. If the queen gets there, you have a checkmate threat. That is, of course, if this blue bishop is removed. There are just a lot of things to look at, and I don't think that I could do justice to all these other variations in this video alone. So that's my analysis for this opening. I think that it's really interesting to see how the other two variants, knight move out here and queen move out here, which on surface look kind of solid, might not be that solid, and maybe this still is the best move, which is good for red and yellow because it's not developing any threats. It's a purely defensive move, right? You're not developing the queen or the knight, which are big players, two of the big players, especially the king's knight in the opening of this game, of course for the check threat, and also because queen's out early in 4-player chess, for threats in general. So, hope you liked this video. If you have any ideas or you think I missed anything, feel free to let me know. And I'll catch you later. Peace.